Hello, and welcome back to Rams Talk Podcast. And we're here today after quite a disappointing away defeat at Watford. It must be said it was probably Derby's worst performance since Oxford away a long, long time ago, if you cast your mind back to that. But again, you can't get too high when you win, you can't get too low when you lose, and Derby is still in a really good position. So let's have a look at the game and see what Derby probably could have done better. There's a lot of things, actually, a lot of things we could have done better. So joining me today, first off, we've got Jamie Page. How you doing, Jamie?
Yeah, I'm good. Win, lose, or draw, we're here, aren't we? Every week, we'll digest it and try and take some positives, I guess. But like you say, there's a few negatives from that performance yesterday, unfortunately.
Yeah, you say we're here every week, Jamie. You're actually not even in the description of the video because you joined us
Ooh.
last second. But it's nice to have you here. It's nice to have you here.
Cheers, mate.
And the ever reliable Callum Boocock. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, it wasn't a great watch, but yeah, hopefully we can bounce back Tuesday.
Yeah, that would be nice. Actually, that would be nice. I mean, it was a good home win against Swansea, and Derby came into the game with quite a lot of confidence, I'd say, or the fans at least did. You know, we were confident that we'd beaten Swansea at home. We're quite strong away from home. Watford have got a little bit of a record against us. They've beaten us, 6 times in a row now, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. And as well, you know, they beat us. We were 2-0 up at home and they beat us 3-2. And we went into this game thinking, oh, well, they've not won since New Year's Day or something along those lines. And of course, who else? Charity FC turn up and give them 3 points, which was nice of us. But Jamie, let's talk about the team selection because we saw the team come out. I don't really know what we expected, but Sammy Schmodix keeps his place in place of Bobby Clark, which we'll talk about a little bit further down the line. Carlton Morris back on the bench again, so he played about 4 seconds against Swansea, back on the bench in line to make maybe a bit more of an impact in this game. And then as well, Fraulo was dropped. I don't think he had his best game against Swansea really, but Fraulo was dropped for Lewis Travis, who'd served his suspension straight back into the team. I mean, 145, Jamie, you look at that team, what were your thoughts?
Well, the obvious thing you look for is Smodix and Clark, because I think for me, I would have put Clark back in because I think he changed the game when he came on against Swansea, and I just think he adds that control into a midfield that we haven't seen when he's not been in the team. So for me, I wanted to see him in there, but as some of the comments are saying on YouTube, it's rumoured that he's got some kind of groin issue, and that might be the reason why he's not starting. But look, I wasn't too unhappy. I thought potentially Morris might have been, in from the start. But yeah, I'm not looking at that thinking I'm unhappy about anything. We've got a strong team now, so whoever the 11 is out there, I back them to get a result.
Yeah, well, I felt the same way seeing the team. You know, it's a good side. I'd say it's on paper one of our better sides. Like I said, Bobby Clark is probably the obvious attacking midfielder, but Sammy Schmodix, we were trying to pay £4 million for about 2 weeks ago, so it can't be bad. Cal obviously leading into the game. Derby started quite slowly, didn't they? Which is quite uncharacteristic of us in the last few weeks. So I thought we started pretty well in recent games, especially away from home. What did you make of it?
We were well off it. I don't think you can really sugarcoat it. I think it was just a poor showing all around from obviously start to finish. I think the way we started the game was poor. I think Watford started with intensity and were trying to push us back and put us on the back foot. I think obviously that normally suits us, but for some reason we just seemed sluggish. We seemed second best. I think what you two were alluding to with the Schmodix replacement of Bobby Clark, whether that's forced at the moment with Bobby Clark's potential injury or not. I think the change in shape just meant that the midfield was being overrun completely. The Schmodix is almost acting like a second striker, which we've seen towards the start of the season, and we saw our midfield being overrun, and we thought we were kind of past that with having the three midfield, and we now seem to be coming back to it. And I thought Schmodix would be more of a 10 than he is. And I appreciate what we've heard from when we signed him from the Ipswich side of the camp, that he is more of a second striker rather than like a traditional creative 10. But unless he was being told to do something different, it just didn't work. And that first half showing I thought just didn't look right at all. We didn't look balanced from minute one.
Yeah, well, to sum it up, my stream broke about 30 minutes in, and I actually just didn't get up to try and fix it. I just sat there. I was like, why bother? I mean, obviously I did, but yeah, there were a couple of minutes where I just kind of sat there and I was like, do I want to? Do I really want to? But let's talk about that first goal. I mean, it's pretty horrendous all round. We lost the ball a couple of times in a row, and it breaks out wide, and Joe Ward unfortunately had to do some defending, and the attacker just ran straight past him like he wasn't there. Ball into the box, not really dealt with very well by Derby. Shot comes in. It's actually a pretty good block by Matt Clark, I thought. He gets across well, and then he loses the ball. Sanderson, for some reason, decides to go in front of Clark rather than behind Clark, which just lets the attacker run through, and he's got the shot. I do think Vickers should have done better. I'm going to be honest. I mean, the deflection, it does deflect, obviously, but it's still pretty much straight at him, and he reacts quite slowly. I think he was already on his way down. He dived very, very early, and probably didn't anticipate any sort of touch, and it ends up going in straight down the middle. But, Jamie, it's horrendous defending, isn't it, from Derby? And I'd say probably a little bit uncharacteristic based on the way we've played recently.
Yeah, I mean, if you concede that goal on a Sunday morning in a park, you'd be pretty upset, and you'd be questioning a few of your teammates if you're looking back at your defence. And you're right, it is uncharacteristic. I think Vickers has been fantastic. So has Matt Clark and Dion Sanderson. So there's nothing I can say there that that happens every week or kind of point blame. It was just one of those situations where it's almost pinball in a box, and whoever wants to get to the ball first and gets the right connection on the ball is probably going to get the desired outcome. So, yeah, pretty disappointing. I agree. I think Vickers probably could have done a little bit better. It kind of went down the centre of the goal, and when you're conceding a goal that goes within your body shape or where you can get to without kind of moving your feet, you always wonder, why is that gone in? So disappointing. And look, I think they deserved it. I think they started the better. They were showing the more intent, and I think they deserved the goal. So I can't really say they didn't deserve it.
I agree. And Cal, looking at that first goal, the way that they kind of carved us open, and they did it multiple times throughout the game. It was a couple of passes or a couple of Derby mistakes, and they'd just be through on goal. And that first goal kind of epitomised Derby's day, didn't it? Like Jamie said, it was, we gave the ball away in a silly area. Ward dives in way too early and gets skinned, and ball comes across the box, and both Derby centre-backs go for the same ball and end up not getting it, and the guy's just completely through, and I think it's Elder who tries to get across and make the block at the end, and it comes off him and into the back of the net. I mean, when you look at the way Derby have started in games this season, to me, it felt like before we went on that first good run, we made that run of 5 wins in a row. It felt like that sort of start. We were really flat and just seemed to be lacking confidence.
Yeah, it happens. Look, I think the progression of the team and where we are in the table kind of obviously gets you excited as a fan, and look, we want it to expect better. We should expect better from the performance. We shouldn't be starting the game as we did, but I think you just got to put it down to one of those bad days at the office. That first goal just was a catalogue of errors from Ward missing the tackle and letting his player just run past him. So then the three of them in the box not being able to clear the ball and letting it ricochet, and then obviously having a fairly open opportunity for their striker. And I think that when you look at Watford, and they're not a bad side, they're obviously now up there with us. We've allowed them back into the race for the playoffs, and they're a team that if you give an opportunity to, that they'll punish him. When we've been punished twice and lost the game. And look, it's nothing to get worried about or anything like that. I'm hoping that we can bounce back on Tuesday, but it just was one of those where you'd think, especially for the fans who went down there, it was a very poor showing to watch and pay your money for.
Yeah, thoughts for Adam, who travelled from Manchester on the Friday night down to Derby, and then travelled from Derby down to Watford for the game. That's a horrendous journey back, I think, after that one. Yeah, I don't blame him for not wanting to come on tonight. But Chris has put a comment in talking about how he's only just brought himself to watch the extended highlights, and it's actually quite a hard thing to do, watch the highlights, because for Derby there weren't many. I mean, usually when I write up my notes ahead of when we record, I've got loads of things to talk about. Not really a lot happened, and the rest of the first half, I think Vickers made quite a nice save at his near post. That might have actually been the second half, to be honest. I can't remember. And then they had a couple of chances. They had one one-on-one. I've got it written down here. The referee's decision to let the player back onto the pitch. I think Derry Merkin heads it back to Lewis Travis, and neither of them have any idea that the player's just been let back on the pitch about 5 metres to their left, and he ends up picking the ball up and running through on goal, and Vickers does well to sort of deny him, which is, it's just ridiculous, to be honest. And then, yeah, there was one later on where Dion Sanderson should have given away the most stonewall penalty of all time. I think he went back to the Dion Sanderson at the start of the season with a bit of a lazy leg sort of dangled out to the side, and yeah, it just wasn't ideal at all. But Jamie, Derby weren't at it, were they? And part of the reason Derby weren't at it was, I think, due to Bobby Clark not being in the side. Now, I've mentioned it already. Bobby Clark, Eustace did come out beforehand and said he's got a slight groin issue, which is fair enough. Can't blame him for being injured, can we? But at the same time, why is he in the squad? Because to me, if he's got a groin issue that's bad enough that he can't play properly, we're clearly playing him and taking a risk, right? There's no way that Clark's playing without some sort of injection, without some sort of preventative measure to stop him hurting his groin. So if Clark isn't fit enough to start, why is he on the bench? I know people have mentioned Carlton Morris and said, well, Morris isn't fit enough to start, but Morris isn't match fit, and there's a big difference in that. Bobby Clark is currently carrying an injury. Carlton Morris is on his way back, but he's not fit enough physically to actually play the games from the start yet. So, Jamie, what did you make of Eustace's decision to sort of keep him on the bench? And do you think he either A, should have just played him as normal, or B, not had him anywhere near the side?
It's a really good question, and I agree. If a player is fit enough for the bench, then a player should be fit enough to start the game, in my opinion. And I know that the medics will have their advisories on how many minutes a certain player can play and different stuff like that, but it's got to be up to the player and the manager at the end of the day. What I think has happened is Eustace has seen the opportunity to put Smodics in, and hopefully, I think in his mind, Smodics take the opportunity, which unfortunately hasn't done. I don't necessarily blame that on Smodics. I don't necessarily blame Smodics for not really kind of pulling up trees in his first 2 games. It's early days. And I also don't think that the formation, the personnel works for him and the rest of the team. For me, I think if you're going to play with almost a support striker or someone in an advanced position, you need someone at the top end of the pitch who's going to bring him into play. You need a Carlton Morris that's going to almost, head, get his body in the way of stuff, make defenders miss headers, and that's where, in pockets of space, Sammy Smodics can do his business. But unfortunately, with Patrick Agyemang up there, we're just not seeing that. We're not seeing the ball stick. And what that then means is that they're bypassing Smodics and then breaking onto Ozo and Travis. For me, what you need in that middle, you need Travis to almost play that water carrier and that sweeper upper and just be that kind of calming presence. And then you need 2 in front of him that can do the dog's body work. That's normally Ozo. And then you've also got Clark in there as well, who does a little bit of that. But then when he gets the ball, that's when we can really break through the thirds and start kind of hurting teams. So I just think for me, the team isn't set up to get the best out of certain players. And that's why, in my opinion, Lewis Travis and Sammy Smodics didn't have their games yesterday.
I agree. And part of that as well is think back to that Oxford game. I keep using Oxford as the example because we played exactly the same system that we played yesterday. So it's on paper a 4-2-3-1, right, with Schmodic sitting slightly behind Adjumang. But it wasn't. Like, if you watch the game, I know Schmodic's dropped deep a little bit early on in the game, but as the game went on, he was just sitting really high and borderline was the last man or on the last man at times. And that 4-2-4 is a midfield killer for me. Now, I'm sure we've all played in teams where they play with the front two and you kind of play a 4-4-2. But the problem is, Derby have got Rian Brewster and Brereton Diaz out wide. And they're two players that were strikers when they were younger and they've ended up moving into wider positions for one reason or another. Now, naturally, they go forwards. They don't do as much going backwards. And their natural instinct is not to sort of, stay wide and stuff like that. They want to push forwards and get forwards. And I thought at times it just kills the midfield. And Lewis Travis, who, to be fair, I thought he was pretty poor yesterday. I don't think he deserves the slander he's getting. I genuinely feel a bit sorry for him because he's come in. Everyone loved Ibu Adams. He's come in. He's basically replaced Ibu Adams. And now he's become the guy that everyone hammers all the time. He'd had a few really good games. He's had a couple of dodgy games. And now everyone's decided, he's Satan. So it's a difficult position to be in. But Cal, I'm sure you've played in midfields before where, if you've got no protection in front of you, you're going to struggle. Usually he's got Bobby Clark in front of him, who is the first screen, right? And then you've got the two, and then you've got the back four. Whereas yesterday, Schmodic was nowhere to be seen. He didn't help defensively at all. And that just meant that it completely exposed Travis, who I thought was up against some of Watford's better players on that side.
Well, when we've all played amateur football, Sunday League, whatever, and it's like if you're going up against a 2 or 3 midfield as a 2 going up against a 3, you're going to get overrun. It's very, very clear when you're playing in the middle of it, let alone at a professional level where players can find those pockets. And the trouble is that when you're playing a kind of an advanced 4-2-2-2. I don't know if I've got too many twos there, but you look at the way Schmodic was playing, he's getting too high and not sat on their CDM, which then obviously means that they can dictate the play. But also, he didn't seem to have that. Obviously, I appreciate he's only been in the building for a number of weeks, but everyone when he first came in was saying that he's a Eustace player. He knows exactly how he wants to play. I felt he looked like the one who didn't know what we were playing. And the trouble is that has an impact on the two behind him in Ozo and Travis. And I agree with you. I think that Travis is clearly, when we lose or when we have a poor performance, he's the scapegoat. And look, Ibu Adams was that, because everyone looked at him and said he's poor on the ball, he can't pass anything, he's good at tackling, but he has his limitations. And everyone's looked at him and gone, "Oh, we've just bought another Ibu Adams slightly better." And so as soon as he does have a poor game, he's going to get slandered. But and I think that when you look at where we're trying to build the midfield, you saw against Bristol City what a Travis and an Ozo and a Bobby Clark can do. What they need is someone in there with them who can carry the ball forward. They're in the mid side to do something and a job that they're good at. What for me is they're being asked to do is too much, and the over reliance on them to basically do 3 roles in just a pair. You can't do it. And I agree with you. I think Travis and Ozo are the pairing, but they need someone in there with them.
Sorry, Cal, I was really struggling to follow that. Jamie was too busy flirting with Paul in the comments. I couldn't stay focused on what you were saying. But I do agree, and I think as well, Travis, I think, is a better player than Ibu Adams. He's clearly better on the ball. Is he as good at charging round and winning the ball? Probably not, but I think he's a bit more disciplined and tactically aware. But I think the thing is, he's not Iniesta. And I think a lot of people kind of expected him to come in and be spraying passes around and things like that. He can't do that. So if he's isolated, it's going to make him look worse, realistically. And he was so isolated, I thought, against Watford, not having that support, like you mentioned, with Schmodic in front. And by the way, we're not blaming Schmodic here if anyone's listening and thinking, we're going along those lines. It's just quite simply the way that the team's been put together, I don't think necessarily suited the players in it. And Jamie, that's my question to you, really, is you've obviously got Schmodic, you look at Derby's bench, you've got Oscar Fraulo, who, has played as an advanced midfielder for Utrecht for the last year or so. That was kind of his role. You've got Bobby Clark, who may or may not be fit, who knows. And then you've also got Owen Eames as well. And Cruz Allen, actually. All of those can play that advanced midfield position. But he's stuck with Schmodix. Do you think that was the right choice?
No, I don't. And I think hopefully on Tuesday we'll see a change in there. If Clark is fit enough, then hopefully he will be in the midfield, and I think that will give us a bit more balance. Just on what you said there, I just think that Travis had to do too much yesterday, and the same went for Ozo as well. And if you look in the first half against Swansea, when Smodix again was in the team and it was in that kind of advanced area, Fraulo really struggled as well. So it's 2 games on the bounce where we've almost been too attack minded. And look, I get it. We're playing for playoffs. We should be the better team 9 times out of 10. And I want us to be the better team. But is that a little bit naive? Is that a little bit naive to go, you know what, we can just get away with playing those 2 in the middle and just risking that? Yeah, and 4 strikers. Exactly that. And this is what it comes back to. I think if you want to do that and you want to play a 10 and you want to play Smodix, you go and put Carlton Morris up front, you put Patrick Adjman on the left, and maybe we see Smodix on the right, or maybe we see Breton Diaz or Brewster. You've got options there. But for me, I think I'd much rather us see Derby start with a 3 almost in that middle to be able to control. And when you've got a player like Bobby Clark, Oscar Fraulo, I mean, I'm getting a little bit carried away with Owen Eames as well, because I think he's looked great every time he's come on the pitch. You've got players there that can do that, So why don't we do that? And let's almost kind of give players the opportunity to kind of earn their spot and keep their spot. And I just don't think that's happened so far. So yeah, I'm not going to go too much into a rant, because I'm still very happy at where we are at this point in the season. I still want to see the best from Sammy Smodix, from this midfield, from every player that wears a Derby shirt. But I think maybe let's be a little bit more conservative and think a bit more pragmatic, rather than, you 4 just go and win us the game and score more goals than the opposition.
Well, I think as well, if you're playing 3 in midfield, which we are, aren't we? We're playing 3 in midfield. I like seeing 3 midfielders play in midfield. You know what I mean? I want to see 3 out-and-out midfielders. And even if it is a slightly square peg in a round hole with Fraulo playing that advanced role, I think it just works a lot better. I like Smodix, but I think he's just joined the team. Like you said, I think tactically he's probably not there yet, because he's just joined the team. And as well, he's a new signing. He's not played a lot of football recently. So if he comes in and we play a Fraulo or something and it's not working, bring him off the bench with 20 to go. Give him a chance against tired legs and get some momentum behind him. If he can come on, make a difference, and we win a game, massive. That'll be huge for him, his confidence and the confidence of the fans in him. Whereas I think throwing him in from the start, playing him 90 minutes, I think there was a message in my family group chat about 40 minutes in being like, get him off. And when he's played 2 games for us. So, like, if that's happening, it's not necessarily what you want to see. But I don't think it's all on him. I think Eustace has just got to maybe have a little bit of a think about who he's playing. But, I mean, he's doing all right, isn't he? We're 8th at the minute, so maybe we can't criticise him. Maybe we're the ones in the wrong, but who knows? What do we know? But, Cal, let's talk about the second goal. I actually kind of forgot we needed to talk about it until checking the notes a second ago. But second goal, just pretty rubbish defending. Again, it's down our right-hand side, which I thought got exposed all day. It's a nice ball across. He scores. It's just terrible defending. I think Travis could probably do a little bit better when it's around him as well. But again, it's another one of those, isn't it, Cal? We're pushing. I say pushing on. It didn't really feel like pushing on. But we kind of entered their half a bit, and they caught us on the break and scored a second goal. Just one of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I was going to say just before you said that, I was like, yeah, it's one of those where they normally score a second goal in the 90th minute when we're pushing and we're overloading and we're really pushing for that second goal. That equaliser, and then you get caught on the counter for that second goal. But it just didn't feel like that. It felt like the game was just petering out, and then we just kind of threw a couple of bodies further forward. They didn't really do anything, but then they just coursed down that right hand side and literally just is a square ball, and they've kind of flicked it in the front post, and you kind of just think that just summed up the day really. I think that 2-0, although people say would flatter a game like that, it was quite a poor game. I do think that it was quite a convincing win for them. I don't think we really offered anything to get anything out of the game. Look, yeah, the second goal was just what a kind of, like I said, just a sum up of the entire day. And look, we could put it behind us. We move on to Tuesday, and we've got to really, if we want to have a little go at the top six, we've got to beat teams around us. And we've allowed a Watford to come up behind us now and put a little bit of pressure on and add another team back into the mix. So that was an opportunity on Saturday to put us a little bit of a buffer between us and them, and also with other teams around us dropping plenty of points. And we didn't take the opportunity, so we need to go and do it against Hull on Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And Derby did have one chance, Jamie. Our one shot on target. Lovely. That was Carlton Morris. Joe Ward could have cut it back for Schmodics, but thought, I fancy whipping it in instead. Puts in quite a nice ball onto the head of Carlton Morris. Pretty rubbish header, I'll be honest. Probably should have scored. But Jamie, do you think a full fit Morris scores that?
Possibly. I don't know.
It's going backwards,
it's been so long.
Yeah,
I think it's just a little bit too tall for him, to be honest. So I think in those situations, you've got to really get your head over it and kind of generate some power. And yeah, I think if I'm right, it wasn't the offside as well. I think someone just put in the comments that it was.
No,
offside.
he was. Look, he thought he was, but he wasn't.
Yeah, it didn't.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Stats.
Fair enough.
Unless he didn't put it up.
Who knows? I mean, look, you're going to have to give him some time to get back up to speed. We might not see the Carlton Morris that we saw at the start of the season. There's no guarantee that he comes back and does what he did. But I think the most important thing is, as I said before, he just gives us something different up there. If you're able to shift Adjumang out to the left, which is his best position, in my opinion, keep him wide, have him almost getting chalk on his boots, as the old people will say back in the day, and then you've got a bit more opportunity to have someone a bit more inverted on the right hand side, because then you've got Joe Ward that we know if he's got anything about him, he'll put a good ball in. You've got Adjumang and Morris attacking the ball, and then you've got somebody in that kind of wide right position that almost can be a little bit more free, drift inside a little bit, get involved and in some nice kind of 1-2s and triangles in the middle, hopefully with Bobby Clark. And yeah, I mean, that's my dream. If I saw a starting team on Tuesday and it had Carlton Morris back up front, Bobby Clark in the middle, Adjumang on the left, and one of Schmodics, Brereton Diaz or Brewster in that kind of right position, I'd be very happy with that, because I believe that is our best side.
What is your team? What is your team for Tuesday? What are you thinking?
If everyone's fit, I mean, Seth Strom, I don't think is going to be back, is he?
He's got the plague, I think.
Yeah.
He's gone to a leper colony or something. They've sent him away.
Yeah.
He must have something seriously wrong. I hope he's all right.
Yeah, I was about to say, wish him all the best, because whatever he's going through must be tough by the sounds of it.
Well, hopefully the 4 that are out as well haven't contracted whatever he had, because we were obviously missing a few off the bench on Saturday, weren't we, yesterday? So, yeah, I mean, my team would probably be Vickers, Ward, Sanderson, Clark, one of Elder or Merkin. I was actually pretty impressed with Merkin when he came on. We'll go Merkin. Merkin for a start. Travis, Ozo and Clark, and then I'd probably play Adjumang, Morris if he's fully fit. And why not? Let's try Schmodics again, but let's try him off that right. Let's see if he can get some link-up play with Morris and Clark. And yeah, let's see what happens with that. But we've got options, and we've got to go there and try and get a result, because if we give them 3 points, suddenly you look and they're probably in the distance and there's a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, no, I agree. Although in about 4 games' time, I'm sure it'll completely flip on its head like it has all
Very
season.
true.
We could be 19th or 5th, one of the two. Could be either. Cal, what's your team?
Very similar to Jamie. Look, the only replacements I'd make if they were fit would be Clark and Morris, and I would do exactly the same. For me, you're struggling to. I don't want to see us just because we have the options trying to force square pegs in round holes if we need to. I appreciate if we're forced to hand at the moment with Clark not being fully fit, we're putting Schmodix in that position. But I'd rather see like a Fraulo or an Eames or someone in that position and then put Schmodix out wide. I think for me, Schmodix, by the sounds of it, from when we did our introducing with Ipswich, he's more of that his best position for them was on that left-hand side or right-hand side of the striker. And I would rather see him there than being shoehorned into that 10 position. So, yeah, I would go exactly the same. And then you've got a Brereton, Diaz, Brewster, or Schmodix, one of the two of the three that aren't selected off the bench. And that's the firepower that Eustace is used to have when he was at Blackburn, and he had multiple options off the bench and beats us when we had one.
What would be your team, Jake?
Probably not too dissimilar. Zetterstrom if he's come out of hiding, or Vickers if not. Joe Ward right back. Yeah, Sanderson, Clark, and I'd put Derry Merkin in as well. Like I said, that block that he made, by the way, which I think has gone a bit
Really
under the
nice.
radar, mainly because
really good.
Lost. But unbelievable block. I think he'd just come on as well, hadn't he? Really good defending. 2 holding, yeah, I'd stick with Travis and Ozo. Where I think I'd do it a little bit differently, I would play Rhian Brewster on the right, Bobby Clark in the 10, Patrick Agyemang on the left, and then up front I'd have Carlton Morris. I think Brewster's been in good form recently, and I feel like it's a little bit unfair. He did play on the right for Sheffield United for most of last season as well. And I think, yeah, Agyemang on the left gets the best out of him, doesn't it? And then having Carlton Morris down the middle, laying it off. And then, like you say, you've got Sammy Schmodix, you've got Ben Brereton Diaz to bring off the bench. 2 players to bring off the bench is really good. And having Oscar Fraulo as well, it's just a lot of quality that I think we can bring into the team. But where I want to go on this, we've talked about coming off the bench quite a lot. Now, let's talk about the substitutions, because I have to admit, I was not I don't know if not impressed is the right term, but I was surprised by the subs that we made. I mean, we took off on the 62nd minute. We made a triple sub. Derry Merkin, Bobby Clark, and Carlton Morris coming on for Callum Elder, David Ozo, and Rhian Brewster. I mean, Brewster had scored 3 and 3 before, and he's the first attacker to be hooked. Callum Elder coming off for Derry Merkin isn't a surprise, but we took off David Ozo as well and shoehorned Bobby Clark into holding midfield whilst Schmodix was in front of him. I mean, Jamie, it didn't make a lot of sense, did it? I was a little bit confused by that. Like we said, Clark's been that link between the defence and the attack all season, and then suddenly he gets shoved back into defensive mid, basically to accommodate Schmodix. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, and again, it's still got the same issue, because even though Clark is a fantastic footballer, you're still going to get overrun. If somebody's not sitting in front and acting as that screen or doing their defensive work, you're still going to struggle. So I was a little bit surprised by that. I think what I would have done is taken Schmodix off and put Clark in there and maybe dropped him a little bit deeper if kind of needs be, and get his foot on the ball and trying to find Morris. And I think the other thing as well is that we are so good, and we have been so good at going to our wing back, well, our wide players, our wing backs, that are definitely wing backs and not full backs, in my opinion, and being able to kind of put balls into the box. And I just don't think we're doing enough of that at the moment. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's an identity crisis, but I think you look from the outside looking in, you go, we've added Sammy Schmodix, we've added Oscar Fraulo. We've definitely made our squad better, but we're not seeing that just yet. And we're not seeing the best team. And I think it's just unsettled a few, which is why I think yesterday happened, in all honesty. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that we're going to go on a losing run and it's going to be dreadful for the next 5-6 weeks or whatever it might be. But we do need to find that balance. We do need to find a way that we can get all of these players on the pitch because it's not something that Eustace has had to do before. You know, we've not had a Sammy Smodics on the bench. We've not had a Bobby Clark on the bench for a prolonged period of time. So, yeah, trying to find the best 11 to win a game of football, I think is going to be a bit difficult at the moment. But good problems to have, I suppose.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you made a good point there about not utilising the wide areas. And I thought yesterday that the fact that Derby couldn't play through the middle meant that Watford just threw players out wide. That's how it looked to me. They just doubled up on our wide players. So every time we got it, they put the pressure on and we had to go backwards because they knew if we played it into midfield, nothing would happen because we couldn't go through the centre because we didn't have the options. And I think losing that sort of link between the defence and the attack that we have in Clark usually, Clark's usually here, there and everywhere, isn't he? He's sort of, running the show across the pitch, whereas Schmodics, that isn't his game really. And I think having that or losing that in the middle really nullifies our wide options. I mean, you remember at the start of the season when we were playing the back five, teams just started marking the wing backs and suddenly we couldn't score goals anymore. And it felt a little bit like that again. So let's hope that's not a long-term issue, like you say, Jim. I don't think it will be. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll win one of the next two games. But yeah, one thing we haven't touched on, Cal, we should give a quick mention. Cruz Allen making his championship debut for Derby. Felt a bit sorry for him because the one picture that was taken of him, he looks like he's kind of half eyes closed, mouth wide open. I'm not sure that one will go on the mantelpiece, but it's a really good moment for him, isn't it? And it's good for Derby having another young player on the pitch.
Yeah, another one for Moor Farm to tick off, especially with the current rebuild that's having to go on there, and you're seeing the one or two that are slowly making their way back into first team contention. Eames being the first one, and now Cruz Allen. Cruz Allen's kind of been on that periphery for the past probably 6 to 12 months. Everyone's known about him and his ability in the youth setup, and it's good that we can at least see him. Appreciate it was in a scenario where he wasn't really going to probably make an impact as such, but it's good for obviously moving forward that Eustace, who's not really known for kind of using the youth, he's trust. If he has the trust of Eustace, and he clearly does to be able to get any minutes under him, then he must have something that he likes. So no, it's really good, and hopefully we could see a couple more appearances from him towards the end of the season, along with Eames, and then see what happens in the summer.
It's nice having 52 attacking midfielders, isn't it? I think can we generate?
We went through a period we didn't have any, so
oh god, yeah, we just generate attacking mids now and strikers and goalkeepers. Apparently, I think we've got about 4 in the England youth setup. So yeah, it's good. It's good to see him get some minutes, isn't it? Yeah, and hopefully there's some more pictures taken of young Cruz so his family can get those up on the wall and celebrate him playing championship.
I was about to say, unfortunately, that's going to be up in the Moor Farm like little corridor, isn't it? Unfortunately.
Yeah, oh no. You need to play more games, Cruz. I think that's it. We need to get him on a little bit more. But we've got one final thing before we touch on Hull away and Blackburn at home over the next week. Now, Jamie's already refused to do this. He called it woke nonsense before we started recording. But we had a lovely email from Opta, and everyone knows who Opta are. They do all the stats and stuff. And they've got a jinx calculator. They've got a jinx calculator. I've just dropped it in the chat, and it will be in the description as well after the video. And basically, it's a calculator that works out if you're a jinx for the team. And I thought it was pretty interesting. So you put in, if you've watched the game live, if you've watched it on TV, or you've not watched it at all, and it basically calculates if you're a jinx or not. Now, it said that I'm not bad luck. I got a score of like 0.03 or something like that. I think missing the Swansea game probably didn't help me too much. But Cal, what did you get? How did you do?
I am few not a jinx. I got minus 5.69, whatever calculation that is. Leeds blown when watching, only the one.
Same.
Win rate 57% so far, and 33 when I didn't watch win weight. So no, I'm glad I'm not a jinx for the side in the last few games. So hopefully it continues moving forward.
Well, funny you mentioned that. Adam, who I'm sure you guys will know from the pod, he did his, and it was like, he is unlucky. He is the bad luck.
Keep him away.
Which was keep him away. Don't let him anywhere near
you
the side.
If you see him in the away end, take him, just escort him out. Just go and say politely. Go and say, could you just go stand outside for the
Or
next 90
reporting
minutes?
to a steward.
Adams was a 6.8 XJ
Oh,
expected
no.
jinx in the top 2% of unluckiest Derby fans. So there we go. 29% win rate for Adams. So yeah, I think he just should stop coming, if I'm honest, because every time he does, we lose. But yeah, that's a lot of fun. I've dropped the link in the live chat, and it'll be in the description for the full episode on video and audio if you fancy a go to see if you're a jinx or not as well. So yeah, us three are safe, which is good, so we can continue watching, which is great news. So let's have a look at the two games coming up. Who have we got? We got Hull on Tuesday and then Blackburn at the weekend. I mean, Hull away, that's a really tough fixture. That I know Hull don't have the best home record, but neither did Watford in this year, and they battered us. So it's a big game. That they're flying high. I think they're not far off, kind of cementing a playoff place now. They've been really good all season. And then Blackburn, who won in like the 97th minute or something ridiculous at the weekend. They've got Cashin, who seems to be fit and firing now as well. I'm sure he'll be well up for that game. And yeah, it's a home game, which puts us at an immediate disadvantage. I mean, Jamie, what are you thinking for both games? And if you've got score predictions and goal scorers, please let us know in the comments too. So go on, Jamie, what are you thinking, pal?
I think we might get mauled by the Tigers, as the
That's
song goes, as the
horrendous.
chant goes. No, I don't know. I think we are going to draw at Hull, and I think that probably will be a good result. In all honesty, I think we'll draw 1-1, and I think Carlton Morris will get an equaliser in that game. And I think we're going to draw as well against Blackburn. I think they're coming. Boring week. Yeah, look, I always get told I'm boring, don't I? I'll get some hate in the comments, but yeah, that's just what I think. So I'll go for another 1-1 draw. Cashin to have involvement in their goal, whether it's his head or his cross or his long throw. He's been taking long throws as well. So where did Ryan Bruce's long throw come from, and where did Aaron Cash's long throw come from? I'll say 1-1, and I'll go for a Lewis Travis goal in that game against his former employers.
I think he needs that one. I think he needs that. Just quickly, some stats on Hull. Derby are unbeaten in the last 6 meetings with Hull. We're second for away form in the Championship, but I think we all knew that. And we've scored 9 goals in our last 5 games. Hull are 5th, but ranked 22nd in the XG table, by the way, which is, I mean, I know that doesn't mean anything whatsoever. It's almost like the XJ table that we were on about before, the expected jinx. But yeah, they're overperforming by 17 positions currently, and have scored just 4 in the last 5 games, so they'll beat us 4 or 5-0, I'm sure. Go on, Cal, what are you thinking?
Well, your last 30 seconds will mean we'll lose. So, no, look, is it too early to say it's a 6-pointer? I don't know. But essentially, what it is, isn't it? It's a swing. You take 3 points off, then you gain 3 points on them. So I'll go 1-0 away win, and I will go Adjumang to score. And then against Blackburn, I think we go and beat them 2-0. Convinced, just fairly similar to Swansea. Just quite, it might seem a bit nervy at the start, but then we'll put them to the sword, and I will go Brewster and Matt Clark.
Lovely. Got some more stats for you, Cal. I'm sure you'll be excited. So Derby have beaten Blackburn in the last 2 games, both under Eustace, as we know. Just a really weird stat. Lars-Jürgen Salverson has the most shots on target per 90 minutes for Derby with 1.3.
I have a funny feeling he might not do that against Blackburn.
No, probably not. But the stats aren't as exciting, if I'm honest. They've scored 5 goals in the last 5 games. We've scored 9 in our last 5. Maybe we're just good. I think Bristol City might be doing some heavy lifting there in that stat. But yeah, let's have a look at the comments before I have a look. David Cornwell says 2-0 Derby against Hull. Chris Mears says Pride Park is our only jinx. Yeah, I agree. Sonny says thinks we'll win at Hull and beat Blackburn. 6 points, that would be good. Stray Cannon says Hull have lost 3 in a row. Let's make it 4-3-0 to the Rams. Oh God. Peter K says, probably not that one,
Peter
says 2-0. It's Peter and K.
Okay.
Says 2-0 Clark and Morris against Hull, and then 1-0 versus Blackburn, scored by Schmodix. Now, that would be something, wouldn't it? And Jim says Hull 4, Rams 1. If Saturday's team turn up, but it feels like a 1-1, and we'll beat Blackburn 3-1 with Travis, Schmodix, and Sanderson all scoring. Now that would be interesting. I think Hull's a hard game. That's a hard game, and I agree with you, Jamie. I think it'll be a draw. I'll go a 1-1 draw. Who's going to score? Who's the most exciting goal scorer that I could physically pick here? Let's say Brewster. Just there's no excitement behind that. I just like
You're loving Brewster at the moment, aren't you?
He scored 3 in his last 4 games, Jamie. You can't ignore that kind of form. And then going into Blackburn, one of the ex-Blackburn players will score. Could have said Weimann. He plays in Austria now. So, yeah, Sammy Schmodix, 1-0. Let's say a horrible, nervy, unenjoyable 12:30 kickoff 1-0. And, yeah, hopefully we win that game. So let's see what happens. So thank you so much for listening. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe. Please give us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Pods, whatever you're listening on. We really, really appreciate that. We've got some exciting stuff coming in the next couple of weeks, maybe months as well. So,
have we?
You wouldn't know, mate.
You wouldn't know.
but the rest of us have been doing quite a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Ooh, you could get a beer, man. Ooh. But anyway, we've been doing some work and stuff behind the scenes because we want to do a little bit more outside of just the episodes as well. So we'll let you know when that comes out. And yeah, thank you for joining us today, especially the people that have joined us live. It was a difficult game, wasn't it? And it's a hard game, and emotions were really high. But I think we're in a good position, and we've just got to hope that doesn't happen again, don't we? So thank you. Goodbye from me.
I'm up for everything behind the scenes, as long as it's not running again. I will not be doing that. That was a silly idea.
And that was your idea.
Yeah, apologies for that. Apologies for that. It's goodbye from me.
Yeah, just keep calm, everyone. Back on Tuesday. The Ram will beat the Tiger. Goodbye from me.
We're going to release the Rams Talk Bowl. It's what Cal cuts his hair around. Goodbye from me. We'll see you soon.